Hi there, and thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. We feature those who are in the process of overcoming or have overcome any type of life encounter, life obstacle that at the time seemed to be almost insurmountable. With this podcast, we have three objectives in mind. Our first objective is we want you to know with a confident resolve you are not alone. We want to work with you. We want you to know there are others who are working with you, who want to help you through whatever you are encountering, and together we will get through whatever you're experiencing.
Our second objective is there are multiple options for any life encounter you are facing. We want to help you develop a resolve that there are various options and solutions to any life dilemma.
Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you're encountering something that was possibly a decision you made sometime in the past, and if you had the opportunity for a life redo, you would make a different decision. We want to help you with those critical thinking skills that can help you make an informed decision and not encounter what you're going through at the moment. We are the Cooper Culture, a veteran-owned business. We work with business personnel and families to develop and sustain connected relationship cultures within their families and organizations. That type organization is one where people feel wanted, appreciated, and genuinely a part of that organization. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty, who has helped me facilitate this podcast. Today we feature Karen Canham, who discusses quiet burnout. Quiet burnout in the context of seeming having no longer a purpose in whatever you're doing. Could be in the workplace, could be life in general, could be any number of things that just seeming have lost a purpose and a drive to do anything. Maybe it's a matter of not knowing your why and so forth. But it's very interesting to learn how she overcame this situation, and there are others who are undoubtedly going through something like this. The term quiet quitting is in vogue in some places. But Marty, what are some takeaways our listeners can gain from Karen?
Karen talks about the nervous system, and she's a nervous wellness coach. Hopefully I'm using the right terms. Brain and nerves. She coaches you through how you can get over your anxiety and feel good about yourself.
It's a really great opportunity to learn about how we can, I'll use the term, train the mind to affect our nervous system. Let's listen and learn together. Karen, it's great to have you with us. You've experienced some things in life. I believe our listeners and Marty and me are going to be very interested in learning burnout, how you've had to pivot and so forth. And various people are experiencing life burnout, work burnout, so forth. And I don't necessarily want to focus on that, but our listeners are very interested in knowing how you can recover from, pivot from, whatever term might apply, but how do you move on to something that is more fulfilling, and maybe even how do you define your life purpose so that you can define what all that is. Karen, is kind of a broad opening, but welcome aboard. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to have a conversation.
Karen, what part of your burnout, what part of life would maybe start with? It's entirely up to you, but our listeners, again, are going to be very interested in knowing how you transition from or advance beyond burnout and maybe no life purpose or whatever you may call it.
Yeah, so I'll try to keep this brief. The journey's a long one, but ultimately, the burnout came to me when I was in my early 40s. I was working 60 to 80 hours a week. And then there was chronic conditions that were health issues that were coming up because of that. And it was kind of an aha for me of like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not what life is all about. So I quit my job. I had been working on the side for many years of my corporate career, doing wellness things such as teaching yoga, doing some health coaching. And at this time, I really got interested in the nervous system. And what I found was that it really wasn't necessarily about the hours that I'm working, although I would never suggest to work that many hours to anyone. It's all about the capacity that we're able to handle. And what I learned through my training in the nervous system is that capacity comes in a lot of different ways. We are complicated human beings. There's a lot of things that we're carrying with us throughout all of the years of things that we've experienced. And we're not necessarily in the present moment. So when we can explore that and understand that a lot of the energy that we're utilizing is reactions to past things that may have happened to us, we're not able to focus in the present moment. That takes away our capacity. And so learning what those things are and then how to shift and deal with those is really the work that I do now and why I've been able to, overcome the place that I was in.
Karen, I want to ask you just very candidly, without any intention of getting personal details. I'm processing what you're saying, that you were putting yourself under a lot of stress, maybe because of whatever you're thinking about of your past, and that affected your present, that things just weren't totally fulfilling to you. Am I missing the point, or did I mischaracterize your situation?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to use an example. So, one of the things that I've always been since I was a child is pretty perfectionistic. I had to get, an A wasn't enough. It needed to be 100%. I needed to be at the top of my class. I needed to be the best basketball player. So, I've always put a lot of pressure on myself, very high achieving. These things aren't necessarily bad. They come with a lot of good that allows us to do a lot of things in our life. But there's also, it comes to a point when we need to recognize like this isn't helping me anymore. And so one of those things for me was this perfectionistic piece, and being able to understand, where did that start? Why is it still here today? How is it serving me today? What good is it doing for me? And what good is it not doing for me?
Thank you for being very candid with what you just said. I'm very curious. Was it your family culture that
Mm.
made you feel that if I don't do and if I don't overachieve, whatever term we want to put, that I won't measure up to your standards, whoever constitutes your?
Yeah, I mean, listen, no one's perfect and everyone's going to respond different ways to different dynamics. I was the second child, and I think there's a component into that of like, pay attention to me, I'm the second child. Um, I did have a mother that tend to communicate in a way that was like did come off to me as more in a critical manner. I had a father who is very perfectionistic as well, professional engineer, everything had to be so. So yeah, there was definitely traits that I learned of like, this is the way that things are done, or, that I wasn't good enough. I was getting that from those dynamics as well. And ultimately, that's part of the learning too, of starting to understand, what those dynamics were and being able to use those to empower you. So it's not a like shifting blame issue. I don't stick in like the past of all these things that happened. It's taking my power back and being able to accept what is, and use those in a way that's going to benefit me.
Tell our listeners, just give us a guess. How long did it take you to reckon with your past, my term, to understand that, yep, I am a perfectionist. That's working against me. It's causing a lot of stress. And maybe I perceive your mindset at one point was maybe I'll never measure up to someone's standard. How long did it take you to have you overcome that, or do you just know how to deal with it now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That perfectionistic piece doesn't go away. I mean, it's there. It's recognizing when it shows up and intervening, and choosing now in the present moment what I'm going to do instead of reacting to something that may have been like a past response. Um, so there's a shift in the way that I'm showing up and how I'm handling that perfectionistic piece of me. Um, so it's it's not like it just like disappears and it's gone. It's knowing somatically what it feels like in the body, so that I can intervene before it comes into my mind, and then do the work and able to get into a place of, what is this trying to tell me right now in this moment?
For the listener who might be saying, Karen, you're describing exactly who I am, where I am, my mindset, and so forth. I've never felt that I've measured up to, and so forth. And to a degree, it is, you're telling yourself you're always falling short. For the listener who might be self-assessing right now, do you have a proven way that you can help that person overcome themselves? I mean, to me, that's negative thinking, but that's realistic thinking with some people.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different modalities that can be used for that, and it's depend on the specific person. What I have found that there is some mindset work that can be helpful. However, we're on a constant loop with our nervous system where there's 20% of information is coming from the brain down and 80% is coming from the body up. So my approach is to get you out of your head and into your body, somatically feel into your body of like what's going on and all those sensations, and then be able to shift, how you're responding to, what's happening in your body first before it even gets to your mind.
I'm very interested in learning about the 80% and up. Would that include nutrition?
No, not necessarily. So I'm talking specifically about the nervous system. There's one nerve that runs from the bottom of the brain down into the body and runs through all of the organs, and that's communicating back and forth on this continuous loop. It's the biggest nerve throughout the body. And so what happens when we try to override with the mind, we're overriding what the body's telling us, and the body starts to scream and say like, "Hey, I'm here. You're not listening to me. I don't understand what's going on." And so the purpose of the work that I do is to start listening into what the body is telling us and making shifts based off of that.
Karen, I want to ask, is there, with the nerves, is there a body function that you're feeling when all of this starts up with the nerves? Are you feeling something inside, or is it just all mental?
Yeah, you're definitely feeling something inside, and it depends on like what's going on. So when we speak about the nervous system, we're on a spectrum. And we can say like at one end of the spectrum, it's like this push type of energy, go, 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 being busy all the time, avoidant type of behavior. On the other end of the spectrum is the shut down, really low energy, isolating yourself. And then in the middle is where we're calm, connected, curious, creative. Um, so being able to explore all those states and what they feel like in the body, and they can be different for different people. But usually, like if we're at the higher end of the spectrum and we're in this sympathetic state of like this flight and fight response, we're going to feel tension. We're going to feel a faster heartbeat. We're going to feel shallow breathing that's staying in the chest, not going into the belly. We may feel like our breathing is even labored. There's many things that, I could go on about how that feels. And then we get even more specific of like, what does it feel like, the sensation of it? Does it feel cold? Does it feel hot? Are there colors associated with it? And the more that we can become familiar with all those sensations in the body, the quicker that we can take action of what's going into the body before it's communicated up to the brain. And then our brain changes, right? So then that neuroplasticity kicks in, and now we get into this chronic place of where we can become into this negative mindset. So what we're ultimately trying to do is rewire those pathways.
I'm interpreting what you're saying as awareness that if I continue doing what I'm doing, I'm going to incite. That may not be the correct term, but that's how I'm interpreting. You're saying I'm going to incite my nervous system. If we feel that is what we're about to do through our awareness, is there a time a timeout we need to take and just slow down, breathe, or what does a person do at that point?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, yeah, when we might feel ourselves becoming overstimulated, right? And coming into a flight or flight type of place. And when we do that, what usually happens is how we communicate back is not going to be helpful. And then we can get into this loop and this spiral within relationships, within our own self. So what we want to do is recognize what's happening in the body, and we want to pause. We want to give awareness to what's happening in the body, and we want to use that as information. It's like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit escalated right now. I need to bring myself back into this like regulated place. And there's specific neuro tools that we can use to do that. Breath can be one of them. If you're in a relationship and it's a relational thing, like taking a break and walking away and and doing some type of exercise to be able to come back and communicate from that regulated place. But ultimately, what we're trying to do in the work is these tools are very helpful. And we utilize these tools so that we can come into this regulated place. And then our brain starts to understand what regulation is, and it starts to create the safety, and these neural pathways start to change. We also, in that place, we can start to do the deeper work. So it's very uncomfortable for people to start to feel into their bodies, into their sensations. It's also uncomfortable to start to uncover, like, hey, I have this part of me for a long time that's been like this controlling piece of me. And it's really, causing me a lot of stress in my life and my relationships. So those aren't easy things to do. So we want to make sure that we're in a regulated place so that we are able to access those things, and be able to go deep into those scenarios. And then we start to really feel the shift in the body. And that's when the neural pathways start to really rewire, and we start to show up differently.
A lot of our work, Marty's and my work, is about culture, leadership, and so forth. And Karen, I want to address what you are saying in the context of leadership, that we as leaders need to be aware of everything you're discussing such that we respect you, and we leaders might say, Karen, I just have a sense that, or let me ask you, would it be useful if you just right now took an hour off to relax and so forth? But Karen, is it your desire, your hope that you could be with a leader who would choose to adapt to you, that recognizing your talent, but okay, there's things neurologically, and that may not be the correct term, but things that are happening that, Karen, I'm just sensing maybe right now would be a good time for you to take some time off and then just do it. So I'm adapting to you. So I don't know that I'm phrasing myself correctly, Karen, but would something like that be helpful, that you're in the type of culture, work culture, family culture that we understand?
Yeah, I think what you're asking is, there sometimes a point where you need to like step away from either your job or a relationship so that you can get yourself kind of back into a more regulated place. Is that what you're asking?
And that is exactly what I'm saying. And you might not feel comfortable asking for that, but I, as a leader, need to be perceptive to think that, okay, offer that to you. Would that be a good way that you could feel comfortable working in a good culture?
Yeah, I mean, I think a good culture is a place where people look at you holistically and as the whole human. You know, you're not just the worker, and you know, life happens. You know, you go through grieving processes with deaths, there's separations. You know, children are sick. There's all these things that are going on, and to keep those things separate just really doesn't work, and that creates the employee to feel not safe in that environment. They can't truly show up with who they are. They feel unsupported. So yeah, of course there are things in place like FMLA, so that you know that there are PTO though, that we can take time off and we can have this time to come back to more into a regulation place. It's not always necessary. Um, this is interesting you're bringing this up because I just had a client earlier and she's in a situation with her partner where she feels really stuck. And she asked me, you know, am I going to be able, is this work going to work for me when I'm still like in this environment? And the answer is yes. You can still do this work on yourself and become very regulated no matter what's going on around you. And that's the ultimate goal because we're not going to be able to change what's going on around us. There's always going to be stress, there's always going to be people doing whatever they do. And ultimately, the goal is to be able to still feel at peace internally and regulated no matter what's going on around you. And when we can get to that point, then we can make a healthier decision of like, you know what, this relationship really isn't the right thing for me, or this job really isn't the right thing for me. And then it feels really good and empowering because then we're in a place where we feel like we're making a very grounded decision and we've done everything that we can and we're very clear.
I want to take a very brief moment to tell you about myself, the Cooper Culture, a certified veteran-owned small business. I am a retired lieutenant colonel serving the Air Force for 22 years as an F-4 pilot, commander. I have 300 combat missions. I specialize in executive leadership training, team building, and workplace culture, where we help businesses to develop a culture of loyalty, trust, and by developing personality traits and personal strengths, we can help identify those traits that support the company's objectives. We do this through half-day and all-day training shops. I'm also a public speaker where I welcome the opportunity to speak with your group to help you develop your team to the point where people are loyal and they know exactly how they fit in the organization and contribute to your strategic objectives. Through that, you will have a very profitable company and a psychologically safe space where people know they can freely discuss everything about the company themselves, and we are always working together to progress. Contact me at ron@thecooperculture.com. Our website is thecooperculture.com. Look forward to the opportunity to speak with your group, work with your group, to take your group to the next level to where we soar together. Let's work together. I think what you're saying, at least my interpretation, is there may be times we just have to take a very deep introspective look to know who we are, what we're about, and is this the right environment? Is this the right people, and so forth? And we may have to make a very difficult decision that I'm just not sure long term whatever this is the best place for me. Is that a correct application of what you're saying here?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the deeper we know ourselves and the work that I do creates a better sense of identity and who am I really and what's aligned with me. And the more that we can make those choices that are aligned with who we truly are, then it's much easier for us to operate in that regulated place. So yes, there are many times where, you know, people come to find out that, you know, this really isn't just it's not who I am.
How do you work with people who, as a result of this conversation, and they know more about you, say, Karen, yeah, I'd like to discuss a little bit more with you about, and not sure that I am fully regulated, so to speak, but how do you work with prospective clients to help them get beyond where they are to have a healthy disposition and outlook on life?
Yeah, so when they're a prospective client, a lot of people come to me and they're either there's something that has happened that's been disruptive for them. A lot of them have seen my work for some time. So some of them are like, I'm ready, let's do this. They understand it enough. There are some people that come to me that are kind of like, wait, what? I don't really get it. It may sound a little woo to them. And I would put them through an initial session so they could feel the work and what it feels like in their body. When they're actually in the container with me, and I call it a container because it's really important for the person who's me and their guide that is showing up in a healthy, regulated way so that I start to co-regulate their systems with me. And also in that space, they feel very safe and they feel, it's neutrality. There's not judgment there. They're able to reach out to me and connect with me whenever they want. I hold a 6-month container for the people that I work with because it takes that long for us to retrain that brain and then keep what we've learned in place. And so throughout that process, it usually looks somewhat similar in the structure, but it always depends on when the person comes in, where they're at. So I need to assess them first and where they're at. And there's a lot of like intake, just like there would be if you went to a doctor. And then I'm able to put somewhat of a structure together, although I allow them to have a lot of agency through this containment. The important thing to know here is like the titration piece is really important because we don't want to go too fast into the system because that can cause more damage. So we want to take it at a pace that feels safe for their system, so that we can continue to expand the capacity of what they're able to hold. And when I speak of capacity, I'm speaking of this tolerance that we have. So we can think of it as a window, and a lot of us right now, our tolerance is small. When I'm out in the world, I don't see a lot of people that it's short. There's a lot of short fuses. And so what we're trying to do is expand how much we're able to hold. And that goes back to your question earlier of like, the work is to be able to not be reactive to like what's going on around us and keep that internal peace no matter what the situation is.
I'm interpreting what you're saying, and we'll bring this in for a landing very shortly. That it's a matter of retraining the brain, which affects your nervous system. Am I somewhat interpreting you correctly?
Exactly. Exactly. That's it.
Wow. And so retraining the brain might take 6 months or so. And I mean, it's not just one conversation, I'm assuming.
It's definitely not one conversation. That is kind of frightening to people. It's also frightening to people of like, I don't want to uncover all this stuff. What's going to happen? What's going to happen to me, to my life if I do this? So it's the unknown. It's the fear of the unknown. But yeah, there's been lots of studies that's done on the neuroplasticity and rewiring the brain that it really takes that amount of time to implement these changes and to create new neural pathways.
Great. Karen, if a person wanted to contact you, would they contact you by way of email? What would be your preferred method to communicate with somebody first time?
The best way to contact me is through my website, which is karenannwellness.com. Whatever their choice is, they can contact me through email straight through there. They can also contact me through my socials, which are on there as well.
Great. Karen, yes, there are people who are living their past, and then it's difficult to get over the past. And I frequently say, Marty and I frequently say that my opinion is your past does not define you. However, it may inspire you to your future. And it is a matter of retraining the brain or the mindset. I use the term mindset to help overcome whatever the past was so that you can live your best present and future. And I certainly don't want to use terms you would not use, but I think that's a lot of what it is with people.
Yeah, a lot of what that is.
Karen, thank you so much for your work. We do appreciate everything you're doing, and we'll be happy to refer people to you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life experiences with you.
The Cooper culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, Marty, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and DISC personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.